And so there's some key excerpts, some highlights from the rally we had outside of Tactical Firearms yesterday. As you saw in that video, Alex spoke to the owner, Jeremy Alseed. He was also on the radio show program this morning. And as usual, it was great to meet all the supporters and have people standing up politically using the First Amendment to fight for the Second Amendment. And it's been such a rally cry across the country. The gun grabbers have heard from the people, and they know they don't want gun control, so they're feigning defeat. They're feigning defeat, that is, acting like they've lost the battle, kind of halfway embracing the gun culture. They'll be back, though, whenever another event is staged or when they find another tragedy they can climb on the backs of and exploit, as Rahm Emanuel called for. But here's just a little juicy tidbit of Piers Morgan firing weapons during his CNN program shoot yesterday, which, again, they lied about and said was going to be live and misled the owner of Tactical Firearms and then later edited him to look strange. We're live right now, by the way. Let's go to that clip.
But that, I understand, because it was made before 1986 and the last assault weapons ban, that is a legal weapon
to purchase.
Why would any civilian need one of these?
This is an investment. I purchased one of these a while back for about $1,200 and sold it for $12,000 and sold it for $45,000.
And again, there's been such an outcry about the shameful and disgusting moves to restrict the Second Amendment, which, of course, you know, shall not be infringed, that the gun grabbers have had to repel, have had to make strategic retreat until they can put out a new propaganda line. But meanwhile, is there a covert purge going on? We've already seen how Navy SEALs are a hazard to the lies being sold by the administration. Remember, right after the bin Laden raid, some 20 Navy SEALs just coincidentally died in a helicopter crash. Now there's the death of Navy SEAL Chris Kyle, who, of course, was promoted by the system and the establishment, touted in the media as a big spokesperson for the pro-war factions and what have you. But in the more recent weeks, he's come forward to completely defend the Second Amendment. He set up his own organization to try to encourage teachers to be trained and armed so they could potentially protect children in a school shooting. And now he has wound up dead. Of course, you heard about that story in the past couple of days, but this morning, Paul Joseph Watson published his article about how a U.S. Marine, an active Marine, came forward to challenge the official narrative and warn us that there might be more to the Chris Kyle murder. That's because he knew the alleged killer, Eddie Ray Ruth, and says there's really no reason he should have suffered from PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, because he never saw active combat, and while he was in the service, he was only a mechanic and only would have seen the lightest of any kind of things and, quote, never went beyond the wire. And so they really don't know why he would have been considered to have PTSD. Perhaps he may have fabricated his experiences to Chris Kyle to get close to him, or maybe there's quite a bit more to the story. Hopefully that will all come out. We've got to talk about these things. We've got to expose false flags and covert murders if they're going on. And of course, we have to continue to stand up for the Second Amendment. But we have this exclusive photo from the Marine, and he otherwise gave us credentials to show that he really was who he said he was, and that indeed he served alongside of Eddie Ray Ruth, and just that it doesn't make sense that he would have been suffering from PTSD and then just flown off the handle and started killing someone. Meanwhile, we're seeing more of the kind of tactics we saw in the 8 years of the Bush administration, where they shoved the war on terror down our throats and told us they had to use the Constitution and Bill of Rights to clean up the mess, that those things were expendable in the name of safety, the very thing, of course, that Benjamin Franklin and other founding fathers warned us not to succumb to. Eric Holder and the Department of Justice have told us it's, quote, legal to kill Americans with drones. Well, after the fact of targeting Anwar al-Awlaki and his 16-year son in Yemen, both United States citizens, they've now published a white paper outlining how it's supposedly legal to extrajudicially kill American citizens abroad. And what they're doing is manyfold. A, they're trying to legitimize their unconstitutional actions retrospectively, very much like John Yoo and the others in the Bush administration did with their infamous torture memo, justifying the fact that they could go and just put electrodes on people's private parts or invade homes or use children as leverage and collateral to get supposed suspected al-Qaeda members to talk. And they're saying it's completely legal to just send a drone over and target bomb suspected al-Qaeda members. No proof, no due process, no Bill of Rights, no questionings, no hearings, no need even for evidence. All you need is for a senior military officer just to say that, yes, there's reason to believe he might be an al-Qaeda suspect, and bombs away. What they're also doing is trying to legitimize the killing of Americans right here on American soil. They've already deployed the drones. They've already phased them in and conditioned us to accept them. Now they're producing white papers explaining why they don't have to have evidence or due process. Really scary stuff, disgusting, completely unconstitutional. There's more than one reason Eric Holder needs to be held in contempt and impeached from office and indeed put in prison.
Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.